Hi everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my channel and my chain of consciousness as I traipse my way through the thoughts that occur to me this morning as I try to consciously raise myself to the surface of the day. And it's 10:30 and I've just decided what to do for the painting for today. Here in front of me I have a scattering of strawberry plants which I gathered from the garden a little while ago. You may have seen the video that I did about the strawberry plants and the colours that are in the leaves. These colours are getting darker and sort of more tinged with brown and blacks as they get older. They've been sitting in water, but they're still drying out because it's that time of year. But the colours in them are spectacular. I mean, if you take that shade of brown that's sitting there underneath that leaf and you turned it into a beautiful hand-knitted sweater, for example, you would be more than pleased with that colour. So there's never a dull colour in nature, in my opinion, when you look more closely. And the other thing that is also always in nature is shape. And if you're ever at a loss for what to paint, as I am almost every single day, struggling to think of what to paint, just pick something up out of the garden. And I mean, look at this. And this is where I'm going to start today. In fact, I've done a little practice sketch, and this is what I'm hoping to turn this into. And on this little twiglet of some plant or other, I don't know what it is, it's just a weed in the garden, we've got little tiny round shapes, we've got little sharp pointed sticky bits, and we've got leaves of every possible twisted configuration and all the rest of it, and lots of different colours. So that combined with the other leaves I've got, these ones have got holes in, which I think is probably due to the action of some creature, but that makes them very interesting as well. And yeah, so I have all of that, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the idea of these leaves and I'm going to put some sort of whimsical butterflies in the design. I'm going to do it on this piece of 10x7 cold press Meeden watercolor paper, which is 100% cotton. If you haven't already tried out Meeden's paper, do suggest you go and get yourself some. You can either get it on Amazon or direct from their website, and the links are in the description below. But it really is a very reliable kind of paper and has most of the best qualities of 100% cotton without the price tag attached. So as far as that goes, I'm going to put these, these little doodahs, probably be good if you could see them. I'm going to move my paint in a minute, so I'll just put those there for a sec, and because I want to show you the paint. Sorry about the vocal fry. I don't know what's the matter with my voice today. I think I'm blocking up with allergies again. Air quality not good yesterday. It was verging on the unsupportable. And don't know what that means really, but that's what they said. Right, so let's get rid of that bit. Here we have yet another Meeden palette. You'd think I worked for them, wouldn't you? I don't, but this is quite a nice one. It's divided into 3 sections, and in it I have put some paint. This happens to be Michael Harding, I think. Pretty sure it is, but any paint will do. And you don't have to paint from a palette like this. Of course you don't. You can paint from your paint box if that's what you've got, or however it suits you. If you've got Kuretake colours, what I would do is pull out the colours you're going to use and put them separately so that you're not tempted to dip your brush into something different, because from these colours you can get an enormous range of shades and you don't need any more than 4. So what I've done is, actually this was a palette I put together for something else, but it's perfect for today because it's got all the colours I need. These are the colours swatched out. We've got Quinacridone Rose, which doesn't look like Quinacridone Rose because I've mixed a little bit of Quinacridone Gold with it, but it is in the middle there, that's Quinacridone Rose. Phthalo Blue and Olive Green, and those colours together will mix up to make all of these colours I've got here, from the strawberry, which is obviously Quinacridone Rose, all the way through to the light green of the still fairly young bits of plant. So that's more than enough for what I want to do. And in terms of equipment. I've got a relatively small round brush here. This is nameless, doesn't have a size on it, but I think it's about a 3 or a 4, probably a 3. I've got a slicky gold pen, which I'm going to use for some of the embellishments. I quite like these slickies. It has a pleasant smallness to it. It's slim and powerful. It's the best of both worlds. And I've got a Pentel or something similar white gel pen. Any of them are all as bad as each other, actually, to tell you the truth. I've got my calligraphy pen from Tombow, which is the one that goes thick and thin, depending on how hard you press. And I've got a selection of Pigma Microns. This one's a 0.8. That's quite a thick and heavy one. I probably won't use that. I might grab a different one when it comes to it if I need it. So those are the things I'm going to use. I might use a bigger brush. I'm not sure yet. Let me see. I should have one handy, shouldn't I? I don't know if I've ever shown you this brush stand that Meeden sent me. Honestly, it won't be when you see this. It won't be. It will already have passed. But as I'm recording this, tomorrow is my birthday. And so it's really nice that Meeden sent me all these presents. This is a brush stand, I suppose you would call it, a brush holder, a brush container, a brush organizer. It's very good. It's an organizer. It's lovely dark wood and it's got all these holes in it. The only disadvantage is that sometimes the brushes don't fit in the holes. They've made wide ones at the back and smaller ones at the front. But most of the time, most things will fit in. Even this great big fat Isabelle quill, that fits in there alongside my Craftmo one. You can't get my Craftmo brushes at the moment, unfortunately. I can't recommend them. But you know, any brush will go in there and any brush will do, to be quite honest. I think I would recommend, if I was recommending any kind of brush to anybody, I would recommend Princeton. I use Princeton quite a lot. I'm just looking for it. I don't know what I've done with it. I think I might have packed it in my case to go away with me. I think, maybe, I hope so. Yeah. You know what that feeling is when you know you're going to go somewhere and you get started with the packing and then you can't remember what you've packed, and then you spend ages looking for it and actually you'll never find it because you've packed it, or else you haven't packed it and you've and you go and you've left it behind. I've done that so many times. Yeah, right. So Princeton Aqua Elite, I do like those, and if I manage to find one, I will use it. But anyway, for now, I'm using the Craftmo ones that we did last year. I'm sorry about that. I think the other ones are packed. I'm not going to do a sketch for this. I'm not going to do a preliminary drawing, I don't think. But I think I'm just going to start. And I'm using the small brush because I'm going to do the leaves in outline. That was my idea anyway. So let's get started. Got a nice clean jar of water here. And my necessary, I find these quite good. This is the top end of a sock. And somebody told me this idea, and I think it's a good one. When you're mixing up your colours, you get some water, you mix up some paint. It's a bit too runny, and you can just dab it off on your wrist. And before you know where you are, you've got a work of art. Anyway, so that can go here. I'll just finish my coffee. And let's get started. I think it's probably best. Actually, one way of starting this would be to just do a line really pale going up the middle of your page. And I think sometimes it's really nice to paint without too much either concentration or deliberation. Just do it. I have got a book that I'm referring to, which I'm going to put there. I hope it's not going to fall off. Stay. Oh dear, it's such a trial getting organised, isn't it? What I need is this. Right, here we go. One of these to hold my pages open. One of the problems with books that my friend in England keeps mentioning is how badly constructed new books are these days. They don't seem to have a proper spine, so they don't lie flat, and you press them open and then they go crack, or they bend, and oh dear, and then all the twigs fall out. Okay, so let's mix up some Quinacridone Gold with a little bit of phthalo, and we'll just drop that into the stem in random places. And then I think I'm going to go to pink, because there's a lot of red in these leaves. And what I'm thinking of doing is doing what I call empty leaves. So this is just, they don't have to look realistic, they don't have to look like anything. Phthalo blue with Quinacridone rose does make rather a lovely purple. And if you just let it blend and drop in and let the colours run, you can put a bit more in there, you can just play. This is what I call playing. This is a great way to practice your brush strokes, especially, you know, the finer brush strokes. You can practice making thin lines, because it's not as easy as, you know, it's not as easy as all that. When you start painting like this, you don't know where it's going to end up. You don't know what's going to happen. And I've got all those pens, and maybe I'll use those pens. Maybe I won't. I'm going to take this over here now, and I'm going to put some slightly broader lines in these leaves just to give us a little bit of variety. Something very satisfying about pressing down with a paintbrush, getting that lovely line. Then if I want to do some embellishments, I can always come in and put dots or something on that broader bit there. And we can have more than one colour appearing as you press down, you know. And then you could do one or two that are actually, you know, filled in. And change the angle of them, so some of them go one way, some of them go another way. On those days when you feel as if your hands are not going to obey you, you know. I suddenly had a sharp pain in my thumb yesterday. I don't know why. It hasn't quite gone yet. I do have the odd thing going on with my hands, but I'm very grateful for the fact I think it's a little bit of rheumatism, if anything. I don't think I've got arthritis in my fingers yet. Okay, so now we've got quite a lot of leaves there. That's quite pretty. Let's just finish this one off. And now I'm going to put in some, I will come back to these, this isn't quite finished yet, but I want to put in some butterflies. And on my one that I did earlier, I think I started off with Quinacridone Gold. So I'm going to do really super simple butterflies or moths, and I'm just doing them like this. So 2 triangles, and then, I mean, there's so many different ways you can do them, and you can make them much more realistic if you want. But this is what I feel like doing today. So we'll have another one here, and this one can be a little bit on the green side. We'll add a bit of gold to his back wings. And then for his body, I think I'll go with blue, and this will run and give us an interesting effect. You could do red, or you could do purple if you mix the red with the blue, but I don't think red isn't quite right, because this is purple, make the head a bit darker. Sometimes if you put red, it sort of looks a bit like kind of a bit gory sort of thing. So we'll just leave that like that. And then we'll put another couple down here. Let's have a greyish one. And put a bit of pink in the... No, not too much pink. I want to avoid that effect that I just spoke about. And we'll just let that run a bit. And then we'll put perhaps another greenish one down here. Small. I don't know about you, but when butterflies fly around, I can't usually see them very well. So I quite like to paint them as if they're just fluttering around me. You know, quite kind of... What do I mean? I mean, you can't see the details very easily. Sometimes they sit down, don't they, and you can see them. But most of the time they're just going flitter, flitter, butterfly. Okay, and then I think I'm going to put another stem coming in from this side, and we'll do some more leaves down here. So if you stick to the 4 colours that you've chosen, or you could choose 5, but for something as small and delicate as this, I would be inclined to suggest 4 is enough. But you'll see that as they mix and mingle on the paper, you're getting lots more colours. So you don't need to fret over that. Look how that's running there. Isn't that lovely? And then when this is dry, I might come in with a very, very pale and a larger brush and do some solid leaves in the background. I might do that. I'm not quite sure yet if that's what I'm going to do. But I first of all will put in the body of this butterfly and this one. And when it's dry, we'll put in their antennae and some decorations. And so now we'll take some phthalo and we'll mix that with some red to get a nice deep purple. And then you remember when I was looking at this, I was saying there's the kind of little spiky things there and the little dots. So we can put some of those on. Let me see again. Yeah, so just want to make sure that's dry. We can just come out very fine. Again, practicing your fine line control. You need a brush with a very good point for this. Most brushes these days, when you first buy them, are pretty good. But they do lose their points after a little while. I don't want to put my hand in that. I think this one's fairly new. And if you don't want to do it with the brush, just use a pen. And then I'm going to put some brown. So quinacridone mixed with those two colours will give us some brown. And then I'm going to put in some circles, dots, for the sort of floral element. You can use those to sort of link the elements together. Because if you're looking at this, you know, they go over the top of one another. They don't all sit separately, not necessarily. So you want to kind of join things together a bit. Make sure you space them irregularly. Yeah, it's something we tend to not want to do, is go over, you know, go over what we've done. But it works. I did a leaf painting which we put on Patreon in September, beginning of September. And in that one, you can see that technique where I started off with one layer of leaves a bit like this and then gradually built it up by painting into the background, basically. And we can put some berries on this one too. So we'll do those in a dark red. I'm going to pick up some darker of the same. So where this is red, I'm going to just go in with some darker narrow lines. And where it's purple, I'm going to do the same. To add another dimension. And here, yeah, that's dry. I can put my veins in on this one. And I think this one needs a bit more. They're nearly dry. And we can join these together. Nice and dark, the little stalks that are holding them together. We can just paint over the top of the leaves behind, like I said. This one wants to go down to here. Okay, and then, yeah, we can give the butterflies their antennae using the same brush technique, or you can use a pen. And I'm thinking, just to emphasize their bodies a bit, just come down the middle, sort of keep to one side. Doesn't have to be too pernickety. I think I'll put their veins and their decorations on using a pen, I think. I'm just going to dry this off. And the next step then will be to put the background in. Okay, so for this next step, once that's dry, which I think it is now, what I'm going to do now is I've got this, which I think is sap green, olive green, light olive green. Could be sap green light as well. I'm not quite sure what you'll have that will be similar, but it's a yellowish green. It could be greenish yellow, actually, this colour. But they're all pretty much the same. It doesn't really matter what it is. And you could add a little bit of green to it if you wanted to make it a little bit greener. You know, it doesn't matter, but I'm working with it fairly light, and I'm going to just try it out on here. Yeah, that's what I wanted, something really light like that, maybe a little bit more blue. To make it on the green side. That'll do, I think. Now, the thing is, watercolour being what it is, and it isn't gouache, if you tried to do this with gouache, it wouldn't be so easy, but you should be able to literally paint over the top of what you've got on your paper without it shifting what's underneath, because there is gum arabic in the paint. I don't know whether there's gum arabic in gouache, there must be, but anyway, perhaps the amount is less. So you can now happily paint in some more distant leaves. Okay, so we'll have some of them coming in from the side of the paper, overlapping with the ones on the page already. And this will just give us kind of 3 dimensions a little bit. So we don't have to worry too much about the shape of these leaves. And you definitely don't want to fiddle with them because you don't want them to move the paint. And you can do some stems coming in and some thin leaves like this, or you can do some fat ones, whatever. And then you can do a couple of layers of this if you want. So we can come put a stem like we did before. Whatever happens to come to mind. Because, you know, nature is not one layer, is it? You never look at nature and see it two-dimensional, do you? It's always, everything is overlapping and overlayering itself, and life is coming out of every crack and every corner. And you can put some stems in without very much in the way of leaves on if you want. But you see, it doesn't move anything that's underneath. It just gives a much more complicated, much more complex effect. Okay, so you could leave it there if you wanted to, but I think that at this point it needs something more punchy. So we're going to dry it again, and then we'll come in with some stronger elements, just a few leaves, really quite dark. And you could try things out with some of your real leaves that you have lying around. And I was just thinking, you know, how am I going to decide where to put the leaves if I'm going to put some extra dark ones in? And you could cut them out of paper, or you could just use, if you have them, you could use something that you've got, and you can just try placing them, and you have to use a bit of imagination here as to what you're trying to achieve and where they would want to go. You can sort of push them around a bit and think about it a bit. I'm sorry, leaf, I'm going to break you to pieces. That's more where that came from. So it's probable that what I'll want to do is just put some quite dark accents amongst these existing leaves. It's surprising what difference it makes just moving something slightly. So it really is a good idea to try these things out. And I think the other thing I'm going to do before I go on to the final dark accents, I'm going to put a little bit of decorative work on the butterflies, just because that's fun. So I'll use my slicky pen, and I'm just going to put some dots on them. And we can put some veins in. They're always very light, aren't they? The veins in butterflies, we don't want them standing out too much. Just gives it a little bit of texture. There's 100 ways you could do this. I'm just giving them gold tips. We're going to call these gold-tipped butterflies. It's a new breed. I think my mother used to smoke gold-tipped cigarettes. Does anyone else remember that? I seem to remember that. I think that was something of a fashion. Benson and Hedges. Yes. It's funny how things come to mind when you're painting. Don't always appreciate the visitations that you get from the depths and the recesses of your mind when you paint, but a lot of the time, the things that come up are good. Okay, oh, and you need your tips as well. I'll just give you your tips because you've got frilly arms, frilly wings. We thought we'd lost one of our chickens last night. Tamsin came in and she said, "Oh, the little black chicken is missing." And we're like, "Oh no." And she said, "I was looking for her. I can't find her. I went into the barn this morning and the darn chicken was still there. She hadn't been anywhere. I don't know what happened. She's black, so she must have been hiding somewhere." Right, so, and that was good. That was definitely good. I think we're going to mix some phthalo blue with some quinacridone gold to make a dark, quinacridone gold and red, so all three colours together. And I'm going to just try that out on here. Yeah, that'll do. Have to be fairly brave about this, but And then if you want to, when you've done these nice dark ones, you can, of course, add gold embellishment, because you've got a lovely background to put gold on. Because up until then, you can't really, there's nowhere to put it where it's going to show up. And some of these I'm going to fill in. Should we put one up here? Okay, I'm just going to put one up the very top. Maybe one here, small one. And I think possibly one here. How should we do it? Should we do it coming down here like this? And then we can add a few more berries. Some of these could do with a little bit more dark on them, to make them a little bit rounder. Not all of them though, because they're pretty erratic in nature too, so we'll just put a few. Okay, and then the last thing to do is going to be to dry it and then put some gold on those nice dark leaves. So we'll just put the vein down the middle, and perhaps we'll put some dots on one side like that. Sort of represents the holes in the leaves, rather than actually painting in the holes. We just indicate them with gold. You could go around the other side as well if you wanted to. These ones I'll do differently because there's a different plant, perhaps. You don't have to do them all if you think it might be too much. Just some of them can just have lines down the middle. You don't have to do them all. But I think that's probably enough. And I'm quite happy with that. Quite enjoyed doing that actually. And hope you did. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Give it a try. It's very easy, very relaxing. I feel a lot better now I've done that. And I'm going to let you go, and I will see you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe, turn on the notifications, and consider becoming a member of Patreon or of us on YouTube here. So I hope you join us again soon, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye-bye.